Y'all dealing with the king. If you wanna come and get it, let the outlaw get you out your seats. You want sports talk, politics? He don't give a shit. Everyone says speak, follow it. About to issue y'all a masterclass. You wanna pass? Gunslinging the new podcast, eat candy ass. Grab a top bench, get information. It's your boy John Roker. Welcome to the Outlaw Nation.
All right, welcome everybody to the newest episode of the Outlaw Nation podcast. I am the Outlaw, a.k.a. John Roca, here to talk to you about so many things. We're going to cover the Star Wars stuff. We're going to talk about my Transformers situation. We're talking about my life, talking about what's going on. It's been a crazy week. How are you guys doing? How's your world going? How are your lives going? How are things going with you guys, man? It's been nutty for me. So much happening. I've had a great run this week being on Collider Movie Talk. Christian reached out to me last week, and he was like, hey, do you want to come on the show more this week? And, I was like, of course. Any extra opportunity to come on the show and be on Movie Talk, I jump at the opportunity because I love being on the show on Fridays. So that's been a blast to do, and I'm still working at Universal. I have to go get everything squared away, get up early, get all the information I need so I can have points to talk about when I come on set. And once I come on set, after I'm done, I'm usually and I recorded that Transformers non-spoiler review with Perry, but then usually I'm just running off to work a full 7 hours. So it's been an exhausting week, but also an incredibly rewarding week and a fun week for me, So I've been enjoying this a lot. So it's been a fun run here. What else? What else do you want to talk about? I mean, I'm auditioning. I just auditioned for Lego Batman to do a couple of the roles. We'll see if I get it. Still working the voiceover angle. Geek and Sundry reached out. They want to have a conversation with me and Yuri Lowenthal about our podcast or about our show that we did there, Super Animation Game Time. They want to work out a format for us, so hopefully we'll be meeting with them next week. What else is happening in my world? So much. I'm retired from dating, so we'll leave that out. I'm not doing any of the online stuff. It's been kind of crazy doing that kind of shit. And when I've got a whole bunch of other things going on in my life, I really don't have a lot of time. So a friend reached out to me. This is a cool story. A friend reached out to me, and he's like, "Hey, I got this matchmaker." And I'm like, "A matchmaker? What is this? Like a musical? What is this all about?" Matchmakers? Yeah. She hooked us up, my wife and I. So, I know you're a good guy. So he suggests this matchmaker situation. So I am going through this weird process. So the way it works is that, at least this in my situation, there are many ways that matchmakers work, but apparently women pay this woman to find men for them because they're ready to get married, they're ready to have kids, they want to settle down. So this matchmaker interviews you, sends you a survey, has you put all this stuff up, you know what I'm saying, and talk about everything, and then put your picture up, and then she submits your picture and stuff to the women. But here's the catch. You don't ever get to see their face until you meet with them. So me as the man, I don't get sent pictures of these women to decide to see if I would think we're a good match. I might find them attractive before I walk through the door. So you essentially signing up to go on a bunch of blind dates with these women who are looking to find a husband, looking to get married, looking to be in a relationship, looking to have kids. So I'm opening the door to that. So we'll see what that means. We'll see where it goes. It's my life is so unconventional when it comes to all these kinds of things that I was like, sure, why not? Let's give it a chance. And so we'll see what happens. So stay tuned to that situation. So we'll see how that goes down all over the place. So we'll see. But speaking of stay tuned, guys, listen, this is the SK Plus podcast channel, right? So there's a bunch of shows on here, and I want to make sure that I talk about this before I get into any of the other subjects. But listen, it's really important for you all to go to the SK Plus podcast channel page, to subscribe, to leave comments, to leave notes, to leave ratings, whatever you want to do there on YouTube and on iTunes. It's really important to subscribe and to comment on all the shows and tell them how much you love them. There's so much to listen to. The Wanger Show, Don't Be a Beardo Show, the Schmodown Rundown Show, the After Schmo Show. There's so much going on. Of course, my show, the Outlaw Nation podcast. There's so many good shows on there. So go and patronize them. Go and listen to them. Go and hear what they have to say and download the episodes and give them some love, man, because this is a good podcast channel, and it's nice that it's up on its feet and it's running again. I remember being on the podcast channel originally in the first iteration with the Schmoes, now on the Top 10 show. So I know that when Christian sets his mind to get us going on a podcast channel, it usually works out in the positive. So I've been enjoying being on the SK Plus podcast channel. So the Outlaw Nation, it's been nice to have this kind of forum to talk to you guys, to kind of just like talk about my subjects, talk about things that I'm into and I'm passionate about. This week, there's no interviews. It's just me talking about stuff. So I hope you all are okay with that. Y'all can strap in and just enjoy my points of views on things. That's what the show is about, this week. So, because last week was a pretty heavy interview show, we had Jay Washington talking the Black Panther trailer, which was awesome. Mark Tyler Nobleton was really cool to come on the podcast. This is the only podcast he came on to talk about that awesome Batman documentary called Batman and Bill, and you need to watch that documentary so you can see the story of how Bill Finger, who was essentially the co-creator of Batman, a lot of the Batman characters and Gotham City, stuff within Gotham City and Gotham City itself, along with Bob Kane, but never got the credit and never got the respect and admiration and money that he deserved for creating the world of Batman. And so this documentary chronicles that journey of Mark Tyler Nobleton trying to get the credit for Bill Finger. And it's a fantastic documentary. It's only 90 minutes. You can watch it on Hulu and enjoy it. It's really, if you're a comic books fan or a Batman fan, even a movie Batman fan, it's still a fun documentary. Or if you're a fan of Justice at all, it's a fun documentary. So I would recommend that. And of course, Matt Noce returned to talk the NBA Finals. I'm going to try to get Matt on again next week because the draft happens on Thursday. So the draft will be, so we're going to see what moves the NBA teams make, and then Matt and I will talk about it next week for a little bit, so that'll be fun. Hopefully, if I can get Matt on the show next week. But he was awesome talking NBA Finals, talking NBA. You guys can tell, like, when Matt and I get together to talk things we care about, it's a fun time, and the chemistry is always there. He's one of the... for whatever reason, Matt and I stumbled into this world and found each other, and there's chemistry whenever we're talking about things we're passionate about, and it's a lot of fun with him. So, all right, cool. There you go. Well, listen, something really new is happening this week on the Outlaw Nation podcast. Thanks to Christian Harloff. He's been pretty awesome in pushing to try to get us sponsors, to try to get us attention, try to get us love from people so that we can get paid through these sponsorships to do the shows that we're doing here on the SK Plus podcast channel. And this week, MeUndies is sponsoring the show. Now technically sponsoring the show, the Outlaw Nation podcast, right? So here's the deal. You guys know the number one thing that is that goes on a person's body that starts their day is their underwear. Come out of the shower, you don't put on your clothes, you put on your underwear first, right? That's what you want to wear, something that's comfortable, that's soft, that gets you through the day. Male or female, it doesn't matter. It gets you through the day because the last thing you want is something riding up into your crack, something like just kind of grabbing your balls too hard, something that just doesn't feel comfortable to wear. And so MeUndies is amazing. And I've been a fan of MeUndies because Bill Simmons' podcast, they sponsor Bill Simmons' podcast, and they sponsor Mark Maron's podcast, which are two of my big inspirations for doing podcasts. So I've always heard the ads for MeUndies. I've bought MeUndies. They are amazing. MeUndies, they are simply the softest, most comfortable underwear you'll ever wear. I mean, once you try them, you won't want to wear anything else unless you're naked or in your swimsuit. That works too. But for every other second of your life, there's MeUndies, right? Now, every pair of MeUndies is sustainably sourced, and that matters. And it's made from micromodal, which is a fabric that's 3 times softer than cotton. 3 times softer than cotton. Cotton's already soft. 100% cotton is already soft. You're going to go 3 times softer than cotton. Then I know my private areas are being taken care of in the right way, and your private areas would be taken care of in the right way, because MeUndies also comes in all kinds of colors and patterns. If you're used to buying packs of uncomfortable, boring underwear, we all know those. We've seen those. We've bought those growing up. We've had our parents buy us those. Those usually only come in white or gray or black or tan. Well, MeUndies will change everything. Like I said, they come in all kinds of patterns, and they release a new limited edition pattern each month that always sells out. Now, this month is a rainbow confetti print called Celebrate, right? Try MeUndies today. Go get the Celebrate pattern before they're all gone at MeUndies.com/outlaw. That's right, MeUndies.com/outlaw, and you'll save 20% off your first pair, right? 20%. That's pretty awesome. Now, you have to feel for yourself to see why MeUndies has sold over 5 million pairs to date. Now, I saw for myself, and it's amazing. And if they've sold 5 million pairs, that tells you that a lot of people enjoy this underwear. So, and if you don't love your first pair of MeUndies, this is pretty amazing. They're free. So not only do you get 20% off your first pair, if you try it and order it, and if you don't love it, you get your money back. It's free. That's pretty awesome. So get 20% off your first pair plus free shipping. So, okay, let's run this down. You get 20% off, and if you don't like it, they're free, and then it's free shipping. So please go to MeUndies.com/outlaw right now. That's MeUndies.com/outlaw, MeUndies.com/outlaw. Now, this is really important. You all are my audience. Please go to that website. Please go to that web address and click on it. Even if you don't want to buy anything, you don't just click on it. Because right now, what MeUndies is doing is a trial run with this episode of the podcast, the Outlaw Nation podcast, and they are going to see how many clicks we give them. Now, if we give them tens of thousands of clicks, then they're going to want to buy ad space on the show, which helps me to do the show and supports me doing the show. So I think you guys, I would love you guys to do that. So go to MeUndies.com/outlaw. And then click on it, and then just look around and see if you like anything, and try a pair. Why don't you try a pair? You guys buy toys, you guys buy DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever, these things for right around the same price. Why not wear something? Why not buy something that's going to last for a long time and make you feel comfortable as well? So go to MeUndies.com/outlaw and help the Outlaw Nation podcast out. I'd appreciate it. I know that much. All right, so let's get into it this week. Let's start off with a big, massive... Hold on, let me take a drink of water before we start. All right, sorry you hear that, but it's a Welcome to the Outlaw Nation podcast. We don't do everything conventionally, so... Star Wars. Holy crap. What an insane day, the last 2 days it's been with this whole thing with Lord and Miller being fired, essentially fired off the Han Solo movie. I mean, 5 months of pre-production and shooting. It's amazing. They're so close to being done. The rumors are 3 weeks. They were 3 weeks away from being done shooting the entire movie, which means they were probably already compiling a trailer to show at like Celebration or Comic-Con. And so this is just unheard of. This is just not done. I mean, we've seen issues with Disney with the new iterations of Star Wars, of course, with the Josh Trank, that kind of situation. There's rumors about Colin Trevorrow, whether after Book of Henry's just crashed and burned at the box office, and there's been a backlash against Jurassic World. There's a worry whether he's the right guy to wrap up this current trilogy in Episode 9. No one's worried about the Rian Johnson thing. That first trailer pretty much set everybody in motion for The Last Jedi, so everyone's looking forward to seeing that. But this is a different situation now. The Disney movies we know that they have the trilogy that they're working on, but then these Star Wars stories were supposed to be showcases for these new film directors, or for these current film directors, or new and exciting voices to come into the Star Wars universe and do their version of Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, of course, has been in charge for a while. You have Lawrence Kasdan involved, who's obviously been around since the original trilogy, worked on the original trilogy. So you have the old talking heads, the veterans, shall we say, of the Star Wars franchise. But they brought in these new voices. Rian Johnson is a new voice. What you have here with Lord and Miller were supposed to be new voices as well. And so to see them kind of not be able to make it work is an unfortunate situation, because we heard about the reshoots on Rogue One, and that's just kind of how things are going now. But, people were concerned about it. And Gareth Edwards, who's a new director as well, he was handed Rogue One, and people still came in and kind of had to do some research. The rumors on Tony Gilroy going around, and then, of course, The Force Awakens. JJ, JJ's JJ. He's going to do his thing. So there's been a lot of, overseeing in this Star Wars new iteration of Star Wars. There's been a lot of Overwatch, and this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out to other younger up and coming film directors. Do they want to step into a situation like this and possibly be second guessed the entire time they're doing a Star Wars movie, even if it's just a Star Wars story. Which, once again, it was supposed to be not like the trilogies. It's supposed to have their own voice, their own style, and this concerns me personally as a massive fan of Star Wars and as a massive fan of film. I like new and up and coming filmmakers getting a shot to get into a bigger toolbox and see what they can do. And this Lord Miller's always shown us with 21 Jump Street, with the Lego movie, that they know exactly how to pick up these franchises and put them on their backs and like recreate them and make them enjoyable and accessible and fun to visit. So this concerns me on a number of levels, because there's rumors that they were fighting like since the beginning. And so why stay together for 5 months? I mean, they got rid of Trank immediately before they even started shooting stuff with him. If there was stuff going wrong and the tone of Han Solo was off, or the tone of Han Solo wasn't what they wanted, then I don't understand why not get rid of them sooner rather than later. Like, what is it that kept them working together for 5 months? Was it the belief? Was it the PR situation? Was it the fact that they had most of it right, but they were trying to really think they could, the Kathleen and Kennedy and Lawrence Kasdan, other people involved with the production, did they think they could eventually steer Lord and Miller to where they were going? And of course, there's rumors that Lord and Miller, they're not always the easiest people to deal with. That they're very confident about their vision and on things, and most good directors really are. Not a lot of great directors are malleable. Most great directors believe in a vision, sacrifice for that vision, and put it on screen and fight for that vision. And so maybe they had an idea of Han Solo as a little more darker, a little more edgier, or even a little more playful, a little more goofier. Who knows, right? We don't know yet, because we haven't seen one trailer or one iota of footage to show us what kind of Han Solo that they were wanting to put on screen. I think this is an interesting situation because of how, if they get Ron Howard, great. I mean, Ron Howard is Ron Howard. Initially, my thought was, these are the old hats, the older approaches, the older directors taking a look at this and doing their thing. But you have to also look at it logically as a business, which is what I said on Movie Talk the other day, is that, if you want an old hat to step in and steer the ship into port, it just makes sense, because it's already a precast film, a pre-shot. Most of it's been shot already. The script's been approved. I mean, what is Ron Howard going to come in and do that's going to do anything other than complete the filming, give you a finished product, and maybe give you the Han Solo you want? I mean, who knows how extensive these reshoots are going to be? Are they going to start essentially all over again and shoot a bunch of key scenes with Alden Ehrenreich that has a different tone than what Lord and Miller were shooting? So it's an interesting. I mean, it's just a kind of an interesting situation, and I don't understand. Like, did they not like the movie they were getting? There's shades of the DCEU here with what they did with David Ayer and Suicide Squad. So it just kind of concerns me on a number of levels that they didn't just see this thing to fruition and see what happens. But, by the same token, look, we're fans. We can sit on the outside and be like, you should have just kept going. You should have just finished it. But we don't know what it's like behind the door, and see and all the machinations that are going on, all the different amount of interests that are in the room financially. Disney is no joke. Everybody knows the mouse is no joke. So what was it that they wanted to, they weren't getting from Lord and Miller that they wanted to get from Lord and Miller, and what are they looking for now? But once again, this concerns me because how many young up-and-coming filmmakers, yes, of course, they'll jump at the chance at doing a Star Wars movie. Everyone's a massive Star Wars fan, I think. But as a creative person, this concerns me because there seems to be consistently this idea of the higher-up stepping in and telling them the style, the vibe, the atmosphere that they want out of these movies. So, but then again, their track record is successful. Rogue One was great. Force Awakens was great. Last Jedi looks fantastic. So maybe they know what they're doing, and they just need to find people who are more malleable or conducive to what they want to do with it. So we'll see. I'm concerned, but by the same token, I also think they have a track record, so they've earned a little bit of patience with me to see how they end up finishing the Han Solo film and seeing what the end product is going to be, because I was super excited. It's a good cast. It's going to be a fun film. It looked like it was going to be a fun film. So I'm sure there's more to come. I'm sure there are going to be books written on this, articles. I'm sure they're going to be, anonymously sourced stuff. I mean, there was stuff in Variety where they said Kathleen Kennedy disagreed with even the way they folded their socks. So there's so much about this that still has yet to come out. And you know how these Hollywood stories go. For those of you who've read these exposés or read these articles on these kinds of situations, there's certainly a lot more to be said from both sides, and I'm sure stuff will trickle out. Disney does not like to look bad, so I'm sure they will trickle little stories out through their contacts in the press and see how that plays out. So, but like I said, I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to hold a judgment until I see the actual film, and if it looks like two films smashed together, that'll be unfortunate, because if there's one character who deserves to have an awesome film made about them, it's Han Solo, and I know that I mentioned on Movie Talk how people push back against this idea of a Han Solo movie. So this only seems to give them more ammunition, it feels like. Never should have even started the project, if it was going to end up like this. So, all right. There's not going to be a lot of musical breaks this week. I'm just doing something just chill. Just going to be talking to you guys and just doing whatever and going from subject to subject. So I hope that doesn't bother any of you all. All right. So the next step, let's get into it. The next subject, rather, let's get into it. Transformers: The Last Night. All right. Perry Nemiroff and I went Monday night of this week. We went to see it at IMAX at Universal Studios, which ironically where I work. So I literally just took all my costume off, put my regular clothes on, and walked over to the theater and hung out with Perry. We had a couple of drinks before the movie. Okay, so here is my Transformers treatise. All right, I know what these films are, right? I was a massive fan of the comic book and the cartoon. I grew up on the cartoon. That and G.I. Joe was what I watched over my cereal. This is what I did growing up as a kid, as a teen. And so for me, I've never, how can I say this? I've never thought the Transformers franchise was this like untouchable, like Batman or Superman, where it's like you got to pour over and figure out who's going to do what and who's going to. As long as you can do an awesome Optimus Prime, an awesome Megatron, and Bumblebee and Jazz and these other characters, then I'm down. They never the animated series never had like these amazingly complex storylines and like these incredible interesting plot points and whatever. No, it was just them fighting each other, making stupid off-color jokes, doing weird stuff like dancing to like Transformers dancing to songs coming out of radio, coming out of the other Transformer, like did all this stuff. So to me, I never had this like feeling about the Transformers franchise is untouchable or you've got to do right by it. You've got to be amazing. To me, I'm like, look, just show me robots fighting robots and let's have a good time in the theater. And the first one was good, but people seem to think the first one was like this amazing piece of work, and maybe it's because in comparison to the other ones, they think it's like so much better, but it's weird too. All the stuff that happens with Bernie Mac at the car dealership with Bumblebee, all the stuff that happens with John Turturro being completely weird as a government agent, that ridiculous scene where the Transformers and Optimus and all them are tiptoeing around Sam's house as he looks for stuff in his bedroom and avoiding his parents. Man, get the F out of here. What is like this is all stupid fun stuff. So to me, except for the second one, like the second one's a piece of shit. Like I will always say that second one is racist, stupid piece of shit. That's Michael Bay going too far in his like frat boy sensibilities that he occasionally has, and it just didn't work. But 3 and 4, to me, are exactly what I said before. Turn your brain off, mindless fun, just go along for the ride. I don't know why people get so upset at these films. Same people who rebelled against people crying about Ghostbusters ruining their childhood are the same people complaining that Transformers is ruining their childhood. Like, this is so ridiculous to me. You got to be consistent. You know, I didn't care that Ghostbusters, they did it all female. I didn't give two shits as long as it's a good movie, right? And Ghostbusters, yes, legitimately, that deserves a better remake because this is a very funny movie. It has a basis in that the original was incredibly funny. It is one of the top 10 comedic films ever made. I think you can make that case. The second one, of course, is terrible, but like, this remake didn't quite get there, and I wish it would have. I was in support of this remake being made. I was in support of this remake kicking ass, and Paul Feig and all these incredibly talented and funny women. I thought it would work, and it didn't. In my opinion, it didn't work. Other people liked it, but I just didn't, and I wanted to like it. So I was. No one was more surprised than me sitting in the theater going, "Damn it, damn it, damn it!" That they're completely off base with this film. But with Transformers, once again, it's based. The animated movie is goofy as shit too. So to me, and you can find articles online. Go find that article. It's top 10 reasons the Transformers movie is ridiculous. Right? You'll find it and read it, and that lets you know. So to me, I don't understand why people get so upset, so angry at these kinds of movies. It's hilarious to me. Like, what do you expect? Are you expecting Citizen Kane? Are you expecting The Godfather? Are you expecting like Die Hard? That's not going to happen with these films. It doesn't mean that they can't make these amazing films that are comparisons to Die Hard or to great action movies. Sure, you can certainly make that kind of Transformers film in the future, but these Transformers films, it's Michael Bay. First of all, Michael Bay knows what to do with the camera, knows what to do visually with his films. I mean, Armageddon, The Rock, not Con Air, but essentially Con Air, because Simon West directed it, but Michael Bay produced it, essentially a pseudo Michael Bay movie. He's done a number of these things that 13 Hours was fantastic. Pain and Gain I liked. So to me, Michael Bay is a filmmaker that has way more hits than misses. The Island was terrible. I hate The Island, and that is definitely a massive miss. Bad Boys 2, I think is a middling film at best, but he hits way more than he misses. So for these Transformers films, yeah, the first one was good. I thought 3 and 4 were good, and this is fun. This is stupid fun. I don't go to Transformers movies to judge it on plot points and like dialogue and does any of this make. No, it's nutty. King Arthur, the Nazis, all of this is involved. And hey, I hate to break it to you, but this is a franchise about talking cars. Grow the fuck up. It's about talking cars. Why are you walking in there going, I expect this incredibly layered, complex, fun action movie? It's fun already. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's stupid. But everything about all the Transformers movies has been that way. That's what drives me nuts. Is like, all these films, Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, Revenge of the Fall, they've all been stupid, fun movies. So I don't know why you walk in thinking, okay, this time they're really going to get it right. And it's like, the last one made $1.1 billion. Why would they change the formula? Each one has consistently made more money internationally or overall. Every release has made more money overall. Like the second one is still the top 1.12, I think, billion overall, or 1.21 billion overall. But the fourth one, which logically you would assume a franchise is losing steam, that's been the MO of most franchises throughout the last 4 decades. They lose steam with every installment. It made a shit ton of money, 1.1 billion, and it isn't new people. It's people going to repeated viewings of this movie. So, and it was almost a 3-hour movie. So that lets you know that there was a market for it and whatever. And I push back against this idea of like international audiences, they just don't get it. Bullshit. They just have different tastes. They're older countries. Like, this is my belief. The international audiences come from older countries that have been established and have foundation centuries old in our world, right? We're still a new country in essence, and so we think we rule it. Was America domestic? It was like, oh, domestically. Listen, this is the business of movies, is making money. Yes, you want to make great films. You want to, of course, the medium. I'm a massive film fan. You guys know I'm a cinephile. I wouldn't do the Cinephiles with my friend Steve Morris if I didn't love film. But by the same token, they're just fun films. There's time and place, right? These romantic comedies, a lot of them are incredibly stupid. But people have a desire to see these romantic comedies and enjoy romantic comedies, and they go and watch them. Horror movies. There's a lot of dumb horror movies. There's a lot of horror movies that are just for scares or stupid, like sick porn, like Hostel, like that kind of like what do they call it? I don't know what they call it, but like porn, like it's violence porn or whatever they call it. It just, to me, it's not my thing. Slasher porn, it's not my thing. It really isn't. You know, I like complex, layered, interesting psychological horror films. Session 9, that's a fantastic horror film. Those are those kinds of things. Even Paranormal Activity is awesome. You know, and some of the installments. So to me, those are those kind of horror films. Psycho, what have you, Halloween, the original Halloween, not that Rob Zombie piece of crap, but like these other films, they're interesting, they're fun. This is they explore, they push the boundaries of the genre, and they scare the shit out of you. So when they're done really well, I'm a massive fan. But most horror films are pretty terrible. And there's no offense to Collider Nightmares, the show, and the people there, Clark and Perry and Schnepp and Riley. But for me, horror is not my genre. You know, I just don't dig it as much as everyone else. You have to be really good for me to enjoy a horror film. So these are the things with when I walk into a Transformers film, I don't expect much. I just want to have a good time. And I do. And it's stupid. It's crazy. It's nutty. It is legitimately bananas. This last one is bananas. I mean, they're going all over the place. They're throwing in characters with no real like foundation or complex storyline. And you're given exposition, and then you're just asked to accept it and roll out. You're asked to accept it and roll out. But there are so many awesome, like, Optimus Prime hero moments and Optimus Prime kind of villain moments, and then you're going back into the lore of the Transformer mythology with Quintessa. I like Quintessa showing up and being the one that manipulates the situation and kind of gets Optimus to kind of maybe turn evil, and then you have Megatron showing up again. You have allusions to other Transformers like the Starscream, and there's a new team. A new team that goes and rides with Megatron that's fantastic and funny and weird and stupid. And then, of course, the Transformers. Bumblebee comes back. This whole idea and Wahlberg is back now. And then you add Laura Haddock, who's playing a professor who has a history with these Transformers through her descent, through her previous her dad and her grandpa. Like, it's all connected all the way back to like Merlin and King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. There's so much about it that is so nutty and crazy, and I think the premise is always like, look, these are talking cars. Why are people expecting this incredibly layered, complex story? It just doesn't make any sense. I know what I'm getting when I'm walking into a Transformers movie. When I'm walking into a Star Wars movie, my perception, my expectation is different. You know, my friend Mike Kalinowski is like, how could you hate The Mummy and like the Transformers movies? What's your problem? And it's like, well, The Mummy was supposed to be the foundation for the Dark Universe. They tried it with Dracula Untold, didn't quite work. So they come out with The Mummy, and The Mummy is a high production film. Like, yes, of course, there's a lot of budget into Transformers films, but they're not trying to lay the groundwork for the Dark Universe, and for these Victorian era characters like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like the Invisible Man, like Dorian Gray, like the Bride of Frankenstein. There's so much more involved there because these stories are still taught in literature classes. These stories are still viable books that people need to read to understand what great literature is. Penny Dreadful did a fantastic job with that kind of era of characters. And so you walk into the Dark Universe, with The Mummy, you want to have a fun time, not a stupid time. See, with Transformers, you can have a stupid fun time. But with The Mummy, you want to have a fun time, but you're also dealing with these intelligent situations with archaeology, with anthropology, with this idea of mummies, Egyptian times. There's a lot that goes on into this because the Egyptians were a very advanced, intelligent, scientifically intelligent culture. So therefore, there's more to be expected when you're going to see The Mummy. And of course, Tom Cruise, when he kicks ass in an action film, he kicks ass in an action film. Those Mission Impossible films are fantastic, except for the second one. Every other one is fantastic. So, that's my thing is like, no, I don't treat every movie the same way. I know what to expect when I'm walking into certain movies. And if they don't hit the mark, then I absolutely will critique it and break it down and tear it apart or support it if I love it and if they do hit the mark, So those are those kinds of things. So with Transformers, it's just stupid fun. You know, and this is Shia LaBeouf. They cast Megan Fox. This is not an incredible actress, Megan Fox, or Rosie Huntington Whitley, who's a glorified model actress. Like, come on. This is the thing that I don't understand why people get so upset, so angry at these films. I just do not get it. They're stupid fun about talking vehicles that came to Earth from another planet. Now, I get it. A lot of people love the comic books, the G1 universe. Like, oh, the comic books are amazing. Fair enough. That's great. But the general public is not reading the comic books. Most of the general public has read a Batman comic book, or at least knows they're based on Batman comic, or watched the Batman TV series, or watched watched the Tim Burton Batmans. So they have foundations for these characters. Superman with Richard Donner. Most people have seen those things. They're foundations. So when they walk into a remake or a reboot of these films, there's more expected. But with Transformers, from the beginning, even the cheesy 1986 movie, I think 86 movie, Scott Mance would know better than I about the release date on that film, but it's just cheesy fun. So I don't get why people get so upset about it. It's something that makes no sense to me, and the reason I don't like the films and go like, yes, these films should be put in the lexicon of great action adventure movies. No, I know what they are. Stupid, cheesy fun. Turn your fucking brain off. Go get drunk. Go get high. Go do whatever, and go in and just enjoy the time. If you're a Michael Bay fan, you can enjoy it. If you're not a Michael Bay fan, then there's plenty to poke at and plenty to tear apart. But you have to ask yourself, how can he direct these other amazing films, but yet when it comes to Transformers, because 13 Hours was done in the midst of these Transformers movies, how can he direct these fantastically layered, intelligent, complex, well-done action movies and then direct movies like Transformers? There's a reason, because the way he does Transformers is completely different than the way he does other films, because he knows Transformers is just about blowing stuff up, and they know their market is teenage boys. And so I still have my teenage boy inside me, so when I go see those, that's what comes out. You know, I get super excited, and I get stoked in the movie theater, and I just enjoy it. Other people do the, oh God, they're doing that. Oh, that's so stupid. Fuck off, man. Just seriously, I sat next to a couple of people who were just groaning through the whole movie, and I'm like, why don't you go make something? Hey, why don't you go write something? Why don't you go shoot something that interesting? Why don't you go watch the behind the scenes on those Transformers movies? Michael Bay, for lack of it, whatever your issues are with Michael Bay personally, he has an incredible attention to detail. And yes, he's a cocky, egotistical asshole sometimes when you watch those behind the scenes stuff, but he has an incredible attention for detail. So people who are like sitting in the theater groaning and whining and blah, 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 man, you clearly don't get it. You clearly don't get it. It's just that simple. And so you just want to be, and all these reviews that are trying to be clever and funny, and the intellectually clever reviews, people thinking they know better, or like feeling like they're above these films. Man, get out of here with that shit. Because I guarantee you, every one of those people writing those clever films, I could go right into their houses, look at their film collection, and take out at least 10 films that are pieces of shit that are in their collection. Guaranteed. Because film is subjective. Film is subjective. So yeah, they're more than welcome to tear it apart, but in my opinion, they're going in with the wrong mindset. That's just my opinion, All right, that's my Transformers rant. If you like the previous iterations of the Transformers movies, Last Night is a fun, stupid ride. That's it. It's a fun, stupid ride. And you get great moments with Optimus, great moments with Bumblebee. Yeah, and my critique are that Megatron gets kind of pushed to the sidelines a little bit, which bothers me. And Isabella Monera is a nice introduction. I would have liked a little more of her story, a little more fleshed out of her story, her storylines rather, a little fleshed out a little bit more. But in the end, she does show up and have in the massive battle at the end, which has some amazing visuals, and the IMAX. Cameras that they used really show such grand scope and scale on screen, and I would suggest going to see it in IMAX. You don't have to see it in 3D. 3D is for this movie can be a lot. I mean, Perry had a headache afterwards, so I understand. Some people can't handle 3D at this level. You know what I'm saying? It can be a lot to deal with your senses and whatever. So I get it. I totally get it. So, but I would recommend seeing an IMAX. That's the best way to see these films. All right, that's my Transformers rant. That's that. And I'm supposed to be doing a spoiler review of this film with Dennis, and I think with Perry too as the moderator. And if you haven't watched our non-spoiler review on Collider with me and Perry, watch it. We have a good time. time. It's like 15 minutes, but both Perry and I, we just have fun time together when we're talking about films. And so I think it's there, and you can enjoy it and watch it on their YouTube channel if you like. All right. And thanks everybody for the people who have been supporting my, my love of these films. I know a lot of people push back and make fun. A lot of people bust my balls, and that's all right. It's all right. You sometimes you have to take it when you're the lone voice in the wilderness, for something. And a lot, my friend, like I said, my friend Kalinowski, he will defend Batman vs Superman to his dying breath, which makes no sense to me. I think the film is a phenomenal piece of shit, but he will defend it to his dying breath. And so, God love him. Like, film is subjective. Film is subjective. Never forget this. No one is wrong. No one is right. If film is subjective, it's just your own personal take, All right. So let's move on to the next big thing. What do we want to talk about? For me, I would like to touch on this kind of difficult subject, I would say. The stuff that happened with Elizabeth Banks and Steven Spielberg that happened last week. I know we're in news cycles that go quickly and move fast and whatever, but I feel like I need to give my 2 cents on this situation, and I should have worked harder to get a female guest on the show so that we could go back and forth on this. And who knows, I may explore this down the line. Unfortunately, my week got super busy and I just could not find time. So I'm recording this late at night. And I didn't want to make someone stay up till 11 o'clock or midnight to record with me this thing. So this will be just my point of view on it. And then eventually I think this is a subject that I want to talk about on Outlaw Nation with maybe 2 or 3 other female guests to discuss this whole idea of female-led films. For those you don't know, Elizabeth Banks was at this summit that was celebrating women in film. She was receiving an award, which, whatever your opinions are about Elizabeth Banks and Pitch Perfect 2, whatever that is, she got the award. That's all. That's the fact. She got the award, and she took that time to say, to make a point about women being leads in film, which I think is a legitimate point. Absolutely. Why not? I say the same thing about Latinos in film, that they should be leads, that they should be given more opportunities. Absolutely. But I think for me, what rankled me, and this kind of put me in opposition with some people, some of my friends, and other people agreed with me online, was the way she called out Steven Spielberg. During her speech, her acceptance speech for the award, she said some things about Steven Spielberg and his lack of female leads in his movies, right? She said that, I don't mean to call your ass out. And that's where I think for me, I immediately bristled at this. And not because, this is something that, like, a friend of mine reached out and said, why are you mad that this woman called out this white male director? But to me, it's not that simple. It's not just generalizations. We don't get anywhere with generalizations. It's this particular woman calling out this particular director. And that's what upset me. This is what got me on my thing, is because she said, I don't mean to call your ass out. And I think Steven Spielberg, for the amazing films that he's directed, deserves more respect. See, she says, I don't mean to call your ass out, but it's true. I went to Indiana Jones and Jaws and every movie Steven Spielberg ever made. That's a great beginning, right? She's saying that. And by the way, he's never made a movie with a female lead. Sorry, Steven. I don't mean to call your ass out, but it's true. That's her direct quote. And then Sherry Belafonte Harper, who's in the audience, yells out and goes, The Color Purple. And she goes, he directed? Oh, and then she said, yeah, he did, but another claim. So she said, oh, no, so I'm right still. And then she said, okay, fine, yeah, one film. So she blew it off. And that was the huge thing, is that even when she got corrected in the moment, her ego didn't let her go, oh, okay, my bad, I made a mistake, boom, boom, boom. And people are now saying, like, oh, this is like claiming that you have one black friend so you can make black jokes. That is not anywhere near the same thing. And that is such a simplistic approach, because you don't understand the context with which Steven Spielberg made The Color Purple and the times. In the mid-1980s, people were not making black female-led films out of major studios. So this is not, hey, I have a black friend so I can make black jokes situation. Steven Spielberg needs to be credited for making this amazingly powerful and moving film that was nominated for 11 Oscars, made $100 million. And it's a story that spoke to him about oppression, about two sisters fighting in their respective worlds to find their ways back to each other at a time when slavery was still, well, the essence of racism and slavery was still a thing in the country. You know, Danny Glover gives one of the most incredibly powerful villain portrayals that you'll ever see, complex and layered villain portrayals that you ever see. There's amazing moments within the film. If you've never seen Color Purple, watch Color Purple. Go see it. It is really powerful. You will understand the black experience at that time. And this is a white Jewish director who could have just easily kept going, making Jaws movies, making these Indiana Jones movies, could have just stayed in that vein. But he stepped out of his comfort zone, and he did this amazing film based on the Alice Walker novel, The Color Purple. And it's a female, not just a white female led, which is what I think Elizabeth Banks was pushing. It was that, white females don't get the leads in these films, blah, blah, blah. And to blow off a film like The Color Purple, when it's suggested to you, is the height of hubris, in my opinion. She was feeling herself in that moment. And this is not about male, female. I'm not mad at her because she's a woman and she did this. I'm mad at her because she's a human and she did this. And that's what we need to get past. This is where I get like pushed back against this idea of like women get a pass 1,000% for anything they do in the entertainment industry, and men are completely villains. No. This is a more complex issue and situation. Human beings can be assholes or bitches. Human beings can be jerks or dicks. That's true. I push back against this notion of like, well, if a man does it, he's lauded. When a woman does it, she's a bitch. I get it. There are plenty of men who are dumb enough to think that. There are plenty of men who laud dudes for acting like assholes. To me, if you act like an asshole, you are an asshole. Okay? And so that's the way I look at it. And maybe that makes me different than most men on the planet, but that's how I look at it. So when you act like a bad person, you can be a male or female asshole. I don't have to differentiate. I've seen both. So for me, I don't differentiate. I don't see it's because she's a woman. No. Or because he's a man. No. If you're bad to people, you are bad to people. If you treat people terribly, if you're cocky, if you're dismissive, if you got hubris, if you got this cocky arrogance about you thinking you know better, fuck off. To me, I like the people that have an understanding of themselves and are willing to have those moments. And to Elizabeth's credit, and absolutely I give Elizabeth Banks a lot of credit, the next day she realized what she'd done and she apologized and did it on Twitter. She said, I messed up. When referring to Steven Spielberg at the Women in Film Awards, I framed my comments about his films inaccurately. I want to be clear from the start that I take full responsibility for what I said and I'm sorry. When I made the comments, I was thinking of recent films Steven directed. It was not my intention to dismiss the importance of the iconic The Color Purple. See, even she pushes back against this notion that it's like essentially having a black film. Essentially, it's like having a black friend so you can make black jokes. Even she pushes it back by calling that film iconic. I made things worse by giving the impression that I was dismissing Sherry Belafonte when she attempted to correct me. I spoke with Sherry backstage and she was kind enough to forgive me. Those who have the privilege and honor of directing and producing films should be held to account for our mistakes, whether it's about diversity or inaccurate statements. I'm very sorry. That's an awesome apology. And male or female, I think it's an awesome apology. She's not apologizing for being a woman, for saying the things. She didn't say, I'm sorry for bringing this point up. She's saying, I'm sorry for using Steven Spielberg as the person, as not being correctly informed or being as informed as I needed to be before I, quote unquote, called his ass out. So to me, I give a lot of respect to Elizabeth for doing that. I think, it's not easy to apologize, especially when you're a public person. But she got a lot of pushback for her approach to the situation. And there are plenty of directors that she could have noted or pointed out who don't put female leads in their movies. And I think the point would have been made, and that's what. See, I was having a back and forth with one of my friends. I don't want to call her. I don't want to say her name or out her because it's our private exchanges. And she was saying to me like, well, why was she wrong to make this point? Why do you think? Why are you so upset about this? And I'm like, I'm upset because I think it's a fantastic point to be made, and it's a legitimate point to be made. I've fought for this idea of pushing back against that. People have an issue with female-led films in Star Wars or Alien Alien or any number of franchises that are starting to move toward, even Transformers with Isabella Moner, which is one of the things that bothered me, that Isabella disappears in the Last Night movie. She should be one of the central people with Mark Wahlberg throughout the entire film. And Laura Haddock is there, yes, of course, but I think Isabella could have been there as well. I think it would have been really important to have those three throughout the whole movie. But this idea of female-led films is something that I am 1,000% behind. Absolutely. If the actresses are fantastic and on point and are very powerful, good actresses, give them the opportunity to run franchises. Give them the opportunity to be leads in franchises. I think it's a great point. My issue was that if you're going to do a message like this, you don't want to mess it up by using the wrong person as your touchstone, because then that gives people who are pig-headed or misogynistic or who are not like 100% good people and want to destroy this idea, want to destroy this notion, you give them ammunition to shoot holes in your argument. And that, as a lifetime debater, as a guy who's been trained in debate and public debate since high school, this is something you don't want to do. And so, especially with causes like, with Latino causes, like, to me, this is why, and this is my window into this whole situation, I really had a hard time with Eva Longoria on Desperate Housewives. I really hated that she, as the only Latina character, was always cheating on her husband, was always about getting the money, was always about doing these terrible things that are typically standard Latino. Like, they were giving her all the terrible characteristics to play, and she's the Latina. It's why I push back against devious maids. They're all maids. That bothers me, man. So to me, as a Latino, it bothers me. I never took roles. When I came to LA, they reached out. There's like, do you want to play this gardener? Do you want to audition to play this butler, or to play this valet guy? I never went out on those auditions because I didn't want to push the stereotypes. Now, yes, did I do that El Pollo Loco commercial and I put on an accent? Sure, I did. But he's the chef of the place, So to me, that's a different status situation. So this is what I push back against. I know this movement from my own, trying to push Latinos and Latinas to be leads in films, to have their stories told. So Diego Luna in Rogue One, like when he posted about that experience that a fan had about taking his father to see Diego Luna in the movie theater, that's a powerful experience. I wish I could have had that experience with my father. He passed away in 2008. I wish I could have taken my dad to see Diego Luna as one of the leads in a Star Wars movie. I think my dad would have loved it. So I get it. I absolutely support this idea. But but with movements, you have to be, you have to do it right. You have to hit the right notes. And so I applaud Elizabeth Banks for wanting to highlight the need to have female leads in movies. But I think using the Steven Spielberg thing, this is what upset me. He's using the Spielberg. There's plenty of other directors she could have used, and it would have made an even more powerful statement. But see, what we got caught up in is that her misusing Steven Spielberg obscured the point, muddied the point. And we're not wrong for wanting to correct her, because that's not the right person to use. So this is what I mean. These are not just like black and white issues. They're not. They're very complex. We're human beings. We're gray on a lot of issues. So if you're going to be in a movement, it's very important to be correct and on point, because it makes your movement move faster through the pop culture or through the general populace, And it's happening. It's already happening, which is a positive. Patty Jenkins in Wonder Woman is massively massively kicked through the glass ceiling. Bridesmaids did that. So let's keep going. There's plenty of room to be created, to have female-led films, female directors have more opportunities, female producers. But this is the thing. Spielberg is one of these people that a lot of people know. If you study Spielberg, he has promoted and helped to promote a number of female executives, including Kathleen Kennedy. And this is not to say like they needed a man to make it. No. What he did was say, I don't care that you're female or male. You're good at your job. I want to have you as a producer of my film. I want to have you as part of our crew. He has been one of the biggest proponents of this kind of thing. So, which is why he was the wrong person to call out, because he has a history of, and the fact that Steven didn't say anything but had his publicist say, Steven's not going to comment on this. He's busy shooting The Papers starring Meryl Streep. So that was his way of throwing shade at Elizabeth for her stepping out of bounds with her comment. He has a history of helping numerous women in the business as actresses, producers, behind the scenes production people, and as writers and directors as well. He's produced a number of films that have very strong female characters. In his own movies, he has very strong female characters. So this was just the wrong person to choose. That's all. And maybe, and this is what I didn't want to have people who are already like misogynistic and terrible towards women have ammunition to go after her. And unfortunately, she kind of gave them the bullets to put in the gun. And that is something that I was upset about, because I think it's an important point and it needs to be promoted. It needs to be said. And more, Meryl Streep said this thing. Viola Davis has said this stuff. So to me, these are important things to be said by a number of female actresses and producers and writers and directors. Kathleen Kennedy has come out and said that as well when she was defending the casting of Ray and defending the casting of Felicity Jones. Like, these are important situations to be to highlight and to take the opportunity to promote the idea of female-led films, female-led action movies, female-led dramas, female-led whatever. So that was my take on the whole situation. I just felt like it was just the wrong person. So, but Elizabeth's credit, she apologized, so that's good on her, and it speaks volumes about her character that she was able to be like, because a lot of people don't apologize when they say stuff that's incorrect or misspeak. A lot of people don't apologize, or they give apologies that are not really apologies. Like, if anyone was offended by what I did, no, she said, "I'm sorry, I completely misspoke. I take responsibility." That speaks volumes about her character, and I think it puts it away, and we move forward. And now we can focus on the point that she was trying to make. And so, I think bring this up as much as possible. Write as many articles about this as you can. I think it's really important to talk about this and make sure it never leaves the public consciousness that we need more female-led films, more female directors, more female producers, more female presence in Hollywood. Period. So. That's my 2 cents. And hopefully I'll have people on the round table. Like, my ultimate goal would be to have Clark and Emma, these people, and Perry, like just maybe have a round table of people of ladies come on and we have a back and forth about it. Because I think there's a way to talk about this in a way that's just, it's not black and white. It's complex and layered. And I think this is, and most of these issues that are social movements in this country usually are very complex and layered. You can study the civil rights to see that there are people that did it. Like, MLK's way eventually won out over Malcolm X's way, and that is important. So, all right, those are my thoughts on that. I don't want to end the show on that, so let's move on to the next thing. What are you guys excited about that's coming out? Like, War for the Planet of the Apes is one of these films that I am crazy excited to see. Crazy excited to get involved with and to go see. I was unable to see the screening last night, and so a lot of people were talking to me about how much they enjoyed the movie last night. So I am upset that I couldn't make it happen, but I want to know what this film is going to be in the end. And a lot of people are saying it's the best film of the year so far, and that's awesome. I can't wait to go see that. What do we think about this whole idea of Spider-Man? Like, the Spider-Man's about to come out. What are your feelings about the villains? What are your feelings about, is Iron Man in the film too much? I'm starting to go into that place where I feel like Iron Man is a little too much in the trailers for the movie. I'm starting to feel a little bit like it's maybe not the best situation for me personally, like enjoying these kinds of films in this way. I want Spider-Man to be his own thing, and I see this happening with Thor Ragnarok. Like, I'm excited for the film, and I like that the Hulk is in it, but Hulk is only in the trailer in one sequence, whereas in Spider-Man, Tony Stark and Iron Man is all over that trailer. So I'm concerned that it's going to be essentially, Iron Man 4 and or a team up. It seems like it's one of those like old school team up comic books that you'd buy and watch and read and watch two heroes like go and do adventures and do whatever. And so that concerns me. I want to see something a little more from that, and I want to see where we go with this concept of is Tony Stark going to, like, because Doctor Strange got his own movie. And hardly any of the other Avengers were in there until the post-credit sequence. So this is where I wonder about where we're going next, The other big news is this idea of Daniel Day-Lewis stepping down as an actor. Now, This is a sad thing to read for me because I'm such a massive fan of his, from My Left Foot to, I mean, he was even in Gandhi. If you go ever see Gandhi again, he's the young racist kid who tells him to get off the sidewalk. That's how far Daniel Day-Lewis's legacy in film goes. How far back, rather. It's in 1981. And we're in 2017. That's a long career. He's 60 years old, He's given us some of the most amazing portrayals in films. There Will Be Blood. Who doesn't know the milkshake line? Who's ever seen movies? That's the thing that's so amazing about it. Who doesn't know the milkshake line, right? So to me, this is an incredibly sad thing to read, but it's also like, I get it. Some artists really give so much of themselves that they just, in the end, it takes too much out of them to keep doing it. And I wish I was that talented. I wish I was that gifted, that it destroyed me every time to do a layered or complex character on screen. It took so much out of me that I had to take years to recover. And that's his legacy, is that he initially started out doing a bunch of things. My Room with a View, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, when he was establishing himself, My Left Foot, he won the Oscar for that, right? Then you have Last of the Mohicans, which of course Ken and Ellis talked about on Movie Talk, and I absolutely agree. Last of the Mohicans is one of my favorite films, bar none. It's an incredibly moving, powerful film. Madeline Stowe is never more beautiful than she is in the film. The Native American causes that are addressed in the film. Wes Studi is fantastic as the villain. Russell Means, who was an activist in the 70s for American Indians in this country. So powerful. And of course, Daniel Day-Lewis. It's a white guy playing this part, but it's written for a white guy in the original novel, the James Fenimore Cooper novel. So to me, this is a film that he really shines and steps forward as a leading man, and he has a couple of really powerful emotional moments that break you, and he's so great. Stay Alive or We'll Find You is the catch line there, or catchphrase that everybody remembers. But to me, it is also when he's fighting back against the British general verbally, when he is having his moments with Madeline Stowe, when they finally come together and realize their love for each other. There's so much power in his performances, and he's vulnerable. He's strong and he's vulnerable. He's not overwhelming. He's not pushy. He doesn't tell the woman what to do. It's just a fantastic portrayal by him. And then of course, in Age of Innocence, he walks the tightrope of this guy who's with Michelle Pfeiffer, who's walking that line between obsession and love and trying to be part of the society. It's so cool. And In the Name of the Father, heartbreaking. Just a heartbreak. That's one of those movies that I can't watch multiple times because it's too painful viscerally to watch that situation, especially because I've lost my father, so even more so to see their relationship between him and Pete Postlethwaite in that movie. It's such a great exploration of these true characters, and of course he did The Crucible, which you can go back and forth on The Crucible. I thought it was I didn't quite get there. So like The Scarlet Letter, I put it in the same bin as The Scarlet Letter with Demi Moore. It didn't quite get there. But I like The Boxer. He did that with Emily Watson. I really liked The Boxer. It's one of those smaller Irish films that explores that time with what they call, quote unquote, the Troubles. He did a fantastic job in that film as a boxer. If you haven't seen that, go watch him in that film. He is just, the best portrayals of boxers are those actors who treat these characters like they're a spring waiting to explode. Because boxers have to react within the moment, milliseconds. They're reacting to things within milliseconds. So when they're walking around in their lives, any little thing they're ready for it. They're prepared for it. They get set, they're ready to react to it. They're set. And I think he does a great job with the character of Danny Flynn in The Boxer. He's so powerful in that. And of course, he took time off. He went to Italy, became a shoemaker. So Scorsese had to talk him into doing Gangs of New York, and he did Bill the Butcher, and that's one of his iconic roles with that glass eye of his. That scene between him and DiCaprio, when DiCaprio's waking up in the bed and Bill the Butcher's wrapped in the American flag, and he's talking about his dad. He's talking about his DiCaprio's dad, which is Liam Neeson in the movie, and talking about himself and his own relationship with his father and all this, and with his men and the empire he's built. All of that is there. It's such an incredible scene. In every one of his movies, you can find that one scene that kind of sticks out, and you're just like, this is a master actor right here, you know? And it's so funny because you read interviews with Daniel Day, and he always says, like, well, I always thought I'd get found out as a charlatan or as a sham, as not a real actor. I'm always waiting for them to figure out that I can't actually do it. And that's insane to me. This is a guy who's got 3 acting Oscars, 3 Best Actor Oscars, and he's still worried about getting found out. Like, it's just, and that's the mentality which with the approach is, because a guy who's that talented probably sees his films and probably sees every single mistake or wrong acting choice that he made that we love, but in his mind, he probably second guesses. Some people are just like that. The Ballad of Jack and Rose is an interesting film. It doesn't quite get there for me, but it's an interesting film to watch. It's more of those. It's not a period piece, so it's more of a, you know, more of a like a straightforward film. There Will Be Blood. There it is. Daniel Plainview. That to me is, you know, I know people love Lincoln, and he is great as Lincoln. My God, he is absolutely Lincoln. I haven't seen a Lincoln that good than since like maybe in Raymond Massey, when he did Lincoln in the 30s, and even Henry Fonda in Young Mr. Lincoln was a really great Lincoln. And even Sam Waterston did a nice job with that TV series that Gore Vidal had that Gore Vidal wrote the book on, and they based the TV series off of. But to me, his Lincoln is the best Lincoln that I've ever seen on screen, honestly. But There Will Be Blood, that's my favorite performance of his as an actor, Daniel Plainview. It's a perfect combination of the right actor with the right director in the right project. Paul Thomas Anderson's film is so, man, powerful is not even a good enough word to describe it. It goes through generations. It is whatever's stronger than powerful. That's what it is. And his portrayal, Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal of Daniel Plainview, from the opening situation where that huge piece of wood falls on him and he has to crawl out of that pit, that well, dragging his leg. That right there shows you the determination of this man to succeed right from the opening scene. And then you see him do these terrible things with his child. You know that he has a sensibility of him that is caring, but there's this other egotistical, driven, angry side of him that he expects everyone to be at his level. You know, a lot of people talk about geniuses. The geniuses have difficult times connecting with regular people because they don't see the world in the way that regular people do. They see it levels deep, or they see it in ways that we can't conceive of. And so they have a difficult time communicating because they feel like they're stepping down massive levels to communicate with regular people. And I think what you see here is a portrayal of a guy who is so driven to succeed that he will not suffer anyone else in his world who isn't as driven as him. And that, unfortunately, stokes his ego because he is successful at living his life this way and achieving his success this way, that he thinks he can treat people in a certain way. And although he has these great moments with Paul Dano, where Dano is really the villain in the movie, Daniel Plainview, Daniel Day-Lewis's character, still has some villainous moments. You know, the way he treats people, the way he messes with his child, the way he kind of messes with other business partners, when he's trying to embarrass Paul Dano in the church. Like, there's so much about it that is, like, for me, his portrayal is gleeful. Like, I'm watching it with glee. That's the actual term I would use, because I'm watching this incredible character brought to life by Daniel Day-Lewis, and he's using everything that he has in his toolbox as an actor to bring this character to life and give him the nuance that you want to see in a character this complex and interesting and challenging for you as the viewer. Because in one second you're cheering him on, and the next second you're like, why are you doing this stuff? Why are you being this mean? Why are you being this pig-headed? Why are you being this stubborn? Why are you purposefully being this mean? So to me, that's what I would say, is that it'll be a huge loss if he really is retired from acting. There is one more movie coming out called The Phantom Thread. So hopefully that's a good one, which is interesting to put it in fashion. I wonder how that's going to turn out. It's a period piece set in 1950s London. You know, he's a dressmaker commissioned to design for members of high society in the royal family. So it's kind of maybe going back to that Age of Innocence time. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. I didn't say Age of Innocence set in the 1950s. I just mean this kind of high society British type of thing. So anyway, so we'll see what happens. But if it is the end for him, there is no more than we could have asked for him. Such incredible portrayals, characters that will live long in the history of cinema, live long in our minds, and also 3 Best Actors. Nobody's ever won 3 Best Actors. Not even Anthony Hopkins has won 3 Best Actors. He's one of the best actors walking the planet, regardless of what you think about him being in the Transformers movie. He is one of the best actors walking the planet, and he's never won 3 Best Actor Oscars. Denzel's one of the best actors. He's never won. Morgan Freeman. These are incredible actors who've never won 3 Best Actors, and that's amazing. Tom Hanks has 2. He came close. So that's what I would say. So that's my eulogy in a way, if he really is done. So, but we'll see. Some people retire and come back. We've seen that happen before in the history of cinema, so we shall see. All right, that's the show for this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Outlaw Nation podcast. Really appreciate it. Please subscribe. Please leave ratings on iTunes, star ratings. Please leave comments. Same thing on YouTube. Tell me what you think about the stuff I said. Give me your thoughts. Give me your feelings on the Transformers. Give me your feelings on Daniel Day-Lewis. Give me your feelings on the Elizabeth Banks, Steven Spielberg situation. Give me your feelings on Lord and Miller and the Han Solo situation. What you think's happening? I want to hear from you guys. I really appreciate you all tweeting me when you do. Comment on YouTube. Like, you guys left a lot of comments on the first episode, but they've progressively been getting smaller and smaller. Maybe if you need me to comment back, is that what's going to inspire you guys to comment? Then I will absolutely make a way stronger effort to comment back to you guys. So comment on YouTube. Ask me questions. Let's have dialogue. I want to hear what you guys think about these things. So tweet at me, comment, whatever you need to do. Get a hold of me through direct messages. Oh, once again, thanks for all your direct messages. Thanks for all your Facebook messages. I read them all. Sometimes I can't respond to everybody, but I do read them all, and I appreciate your struggles. I appreciate you telling me about your struggles and that you're still in the game fighting. That's what matters, right? That's what I tell people. That's what matters. As long as you still have breath in your lungs, you can fight for a better world, a better life, a better situation in your world. You know, some people have been losing weight because of my story. Some people have been like going back into therapy because of my story. Some people have been confronting their issues with suicide because of my story and stuff like. So listen, I appreciate all of that. And I think you guys are amazingly strong to do that and to put yourselves in positions to try to climb out of this stuff. So mad love to all of you guys that are doing, all you guys and gals that are doing it, because I've had women reach out as well. Listen, all of you, much respect, much love from the Outlaw. Fight for the world. Just because I talk about this stuff, doesn't mean that we're weak. Just because we talk about this stuff doesn't mean that we're not strong when we need to be. If you're still in the fight, then you have the strength. So remember that always. All right. Again, thanks everybody for listening. Please follow me on social media at The Rocha Says, ROCHA. I'm really trying to get to 20,000 followers on Twitter. Get me there. We're so close. We're only 2,000 away, just about 2,000 away. And of course on Instagram as well, The Rocha Says, same thing, ROCHA. I want to get 20,000 there. I'm way far away from there. I'm like only at 80 something or 8,000 something on Instagram. So I'd love the follows there. I'll try to make more effort to post stuff and talk about stuff. The Cinephiles, which is on Stitcher and iTunes and YouTube, the Cine-Files. Please go and subscribe there and leave comments and download our episodes. This week, I think we're talking 3 Days of the Condor. Last week was Some Like It Hot. We did Blade Runner with Scott Mantz. We've got a bunch of other films coming up that'll be fun for you guys to listen to us talk about. Steve and I do it every week. And please go to our Patreon page, which I think is patreon.com/the Cinephiles. And you can donate to our cause. If you guys have been enjoying the shows, if you've been listening to the episodes and you enjoy it, please help us keep going, because it's cost and it's expense to do these podcasts. So any kind of support would be great. We've got great prizes for you there too, so go there and do that as well. And of course, every Friday on Collider Movie Talk, and this week I'll be on all week, so great. And I don't know if I'll be on more next week. We'll see. But thanks for all the great words you guys have been sending me, all this positive tweets and words of support about me being on Movie Talk this week. Really appreciate it. It's been an awesome time, and I've been very happy to have the opportunity. So to me, thanks so much for noticing. Thanks so much for supporting it. I appreciate it very much. And thanks so much to Collider for giving me the opportunity to be on their shows and have a good time in their shows. And of course, massive thanks to Christian Harloff for giving me the opportunity to do this Outlaw Nation podcast every week here on the SK Plus podcast channel. Like I said at the beginning, go to the other shows, download the other shows, listen to the other shows, subscribe to the other shows, or subscribe to the channel rather, and patronize the other shows and give them some love. And of course, like I said at the beginning, please go to MeUndies.com/outlaw. Don't forget MeUndies.com/outlaw. Just go to that web address, click on it, try MeUndies today. Go get the Celebrate pattern that is the rainbow confetti pattern for the month before they're all gone. And you'll save 20% off your first pair. They'll even going to give you free shipping. And if you don't like the underwear, you get to keep it for free, and they'll give you your money back. They're free. That's amazing. So please go over there. Please go to MeUndies.com/outlaw. That's MEUNDIES.com/outlaw, and click on that link and really help the show get sponsorship. Because if they see that tens of thousands of you have clicked on it, then I will get some sponsorship and we can keep the show going. And maybe I can get bigger and bigger guests on here as well, which will be awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening this week. We will see you all next week on the Outlaw Nation podcast. Take care. Stay strong. And know that I'm with you. 1 day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 second at a time if you have to. Get through it. Climb out of it. Let's keep going forward together. All right. Talk to you next week. Bye.